Good morning, everybody. It's Randy with Carchaeology, and it is Monday here at the lab. It's a pretty smoking hot day outside, so I'm sticking in the shade as much as possible. I've been out a lot at some car shows and stuff, and well, I just don't feel like being out in the heat. So I'm spending a little time here working on Anya, the 1940 Mercedes 320 that's behind me. Now, I know the vast majority of you have seen endless videos on this car, but for the few that maybe haven't, I suggest you stop and go back and look at the channel for some of the videos of the find of this car, as well as the research that we've done on it over time. It's kind of hard. I kind of do it bit by bit as time goes on. When new information comes in, I want to share it with you guys, but I'm finding that a lot of people aren't necessarily following along with the whole story. So I urge you all to go back and watch the previous videos of this Mercedes so everybody's up to speed and you can see or make sense out of the information that I come up with as I do these. In any case, working really hard on the car this week. We've got some big plans to dive into it. Last week sort of failed attempt of getting a electric fuel pump into the car. It didn't work out thanks to a junky fuel pump. But in the meantime, I have finally received some pieces from one of the vintage Mercedes parts vendors. We've got new parts for the mechanical fuel pump so that we can rebuild that properly. There's some new ignition parts, some spark plugs, some ignition pieces, points, condenser, rotor. We're still hunting for the distributor cap, and unfortunately the one on this is cracked. So if anybody out there has any knowledge of where I can get one of those caps, please let me know. However, this vendor that supplied these other parts to us does say that he can find one. So we might have one of those coming very shortly. But in any case, the goal very soon, hopefully, is that we get this car up and running so that I can hop behind the steering wheel, turn the key or push a button, start this thing and drive it out of here under its own power. And I'm doing that with a goal in mind. So I've got a date ahead that this car is going to be displayed at a local Southern California Concours event. This is the San Marino Concours, which happens up near Pasadena, California. It's a spectacular show. If you're in the area, it's something that you definitely need to go and check out. It's all makes and models. It's a really sizable event. It's definitely a high-class, wonderful event in a beautiful venue up there in San Marino. And they sound very excited about having the Mercedes there, and I'm using that as my line in the sand. I need to have this thing so that it runs and drives, moves under its own power so that I can drive it out of here, drive it in and out of the trailer, and then onto the showgrounds. So that's the goal. Now, as far as cosmetics, I'm going to continue some cleanup and that sort of thing, but I'm not going to do any further restoration on the car. I've been bouncing back and forth as to whether I want to take care of, any of the paint issues that are there, the scratch on the side, the damage that's underneath the running board there. For now, I'm just going to leave it all original. I'm not going to mess with it. I think it's attractive and intriguing just the way that it sits. And I know the slippery slope that's involved with diving into doing any restoration stuff. Because once I do one thing, then the other thing looks bad and it just gets worse and worse. In any case, so that's what we're doing. Watch for further updates later on this week. Hopefully of us starting the car, driving it out of here, and getting some more photos of it. I'm dying to get this thing out on the open road, really do a nice walk around, take some beauty shots of it out there. And that is hopefully just days away. But I also wanted to share with you some new history that has popped up in regards to the car. Now, it's been a really ongoing process of trying to find the history of this absolutely one-of-a-kind car. So we know that it left the Mercedes factory in 1940 and that it started out as a limousine. We've established that post-war, it ended up in the workshops of Romach Carrosserie in Berlin. This car, along with a Maybach, were modified by Romach with a full coach-built body designed by Johannes Bischow. Both of these cars were completed in 1948, but we don't know where either one of those cars have gone. I mean, obviously this one here ended up behind me in my own garage, but the Maybach has kind of been a ghost. So there's a single photo of that car that was posted on a website called Coachbuilt.com, which is a fantastic resource when it comes to the history of coach-built automobiles. There's a great forum that's involved with it, with a ton of people that are into it. I highly suggest that you go check it out if you have any interest in this era of car and the designers and all of that stuff. In any case, they have listed this Maybach on the site. I think they call it an SW38. Throughout my research, I think it may have been a different model, but I have, I think about 95% realized that this chassis and the chassis of that car came into the Romach workshops post-war, in that it was their decision to build them. Now, I don't know if they were being built for a specific owner, or if they were being done just as experiments, but my theory in regards to it now is that the 320, which started out as a limo, and perhaps this Maybach, which I don't know exactly what it started out as, were perhaps damaged in the war, and then were bought through some of the surplus sales that were happening then. Romach bought him into the workshop, hired B-Scow to do the designs, and then he built a couple of spectacular automobiles. Now, the Maybach is a hardtop car, very, very similar in design. You can see the same wheel arch on that car, which is great. You can definitely see that there are some similarities there, but the history of where that car has gone is gone. I've only seen that one single photo up on the Coachbuilt website, and then some mentions of it in the archives and information on B-Scow and where he's been. But just this last week, another image of that particular car popped up. Now, I've met a ton of amazing people all around the world that are historians in their own right when it comes to vintage cars. One gentleman that I've met over in Norway is very knowledgeable about the coach-built era of Volkswagen-based cars, and that's how he and I connected, both through Romach cars as well as other coach-builts like Dannenhauer and Staus and things like that. And he's been a very active member of that community in trying to track these cars and be involved with them. He's got a great little collection of stuff there at his place. And he has been a great supporter of the find of this car and has helped me a lot with finding out more information on it. And he came across a photo of the Maybach that was taken on the streets of Oslo, Norway, and we're guessing it was probably in the 1950s or so. So that's kind of trippy. I mean, obviously the car was photographed there in Norway, so it made the trip to there. But did the Mercedes do a similar voyage? There's a man that's standing in the photo next to the car that looks an awful lot like Herr Romach himself. So were both these cars maybe built for him? Was it something that he hired B-Scow to come in to design these things? He put them together out of the rubble of World War II, built these two spectacular automobiles, and then took them and played with them? Certainly possible. Or it could be that they were done for clients, or maybe he built them on spec, cruised them around a little bit to show what he was capable of doing, and then to get some more business with it. Who knows? But we see a blip on the radar of the sister car of Anya here on the streets of Norway in the 1950s. Now, that really doesn't help me a whole lot with the history of this, but it helps paint a whole picture of what was kind of happening there. And it really gets my theorist inside me, if that's a word, brewing, of thinking that maybe that was the case. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling. My apologies. I just wanted to do a little update video on the discovery of that photo, as well as a heads up for some future videos in regards to the Mercedes later on this week. Hopefully we can get this thing out of the garage under its own power, running, driving, stopping, and I can get some great images of it out there in the valley on the street without everything in the background here. In any case, thanks so much for watching, everybody. Keep on digging them up and driving them. There are special bits of history on wheels out there in the world, and it is so exciting to find them and share them with you. Thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.